Hello and welcome to Fine Print with me, Amir Arafat. Today, thanks to the relentless efforts of the United States of America for the past decade or so, the acronym IAEA is generally associated with Iran's nuclear program. But the United States now finds itself in the awkward position of defending its close ally in the Middle East and its sprawling nuclear arsenal. The United States and its Western allies urged Arab countries last Thursday to withdraw a resolution calling on Israel to sign up to a global anti-nuclear arms treaty so as not to jeopardize Middle East peace talks. The European Union joined the United States in arguing at an International Atomic Energy Agency meeting that zeroing in on the Jewish state would jeopardize a proposed conference in 2012 on the creation of the Middle East free of weapons of mass destruction. It could also have a negative effect on relaunched peace talks between Israel and the Palestinians, Western countries warned the IAEA's 35-member board. Israel is believed to be the only Middle East power to possess nuclear weapons.
Well, I think that nuclear weapons are dangerous wherever they are. Israel has nuclear weapons. Iran does not have nuclear weapons, so I think that's a real problem. Obviously, though, there are concerns about Iran's past in this area, in the nuclear area, and if Iran were to get nuclear weapons at some point in the future, and I don't expect that to happen, but if they were to acquire nuclear weapons, that would be a threat too. I think nuclear weapons, regardless of who has them, whether it's Israel or France or China or whoever has the nuclear weapons themselves are a danger.
Arab members of the IAEA plan to table a resolution at the watchdog's annual General Conference next week, urging Israel to join the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, the NPT. The resolution is tabled every year at the week-long conference, which brings together all 151 IAEA member states. Last year, the Arab states succeeded in having it adopted by a very narrow majority. For years now, the United States and Israel, the only nuclear weapons arsenal in the Middle East, have been trying to paint Iran as the main threat and not Israel. But apparently, that scenario is not working. Not a lot of people are buying that in this region. Politicians, lobbyists, and propagandists have spent nearly 2 decades pushing the lie that Iran poses a nuclear weapons threat to the United States and Israel. After a brief respite in the intensity of the wolf cries over the past 2 years, the new conservative movement has decided to relaunch the Bomb Iran brand. The fact that Iran is not and has not been a nuclear threat to either nation is rendered irrelevant by narrative of universal concern about its nuclear program. The central thrust of the findings on Iran is that Arab public attitudes toward Iran's nuclear program are in good part a function of their views toward Israel and the United States. Certainly, these attitudes vary from country to country based on proximity to Iran and the Sunni-Shiite divide and old Arab-Persian divide. But when Arabs in the 6 countries studied are asked to identify in an open question the 2 countries that pose the biggest threat to them, the vast majority of those polled identify Israel first, the United States second.
Clearly, Arab nations are threatened by and are alarmed about Israel's attitudes and its policies and practices. And they've been trying to get, the International Atomic Energy people to look at Israel's nuclear weapons and policies and bring Israel under the NPT, the Non-Proliferation Treaty. And Israel has so far resisted it and has refused to even disclose officially how many weapons they have. There have been estimates of as many as 200 Israeli nuclear weapons. So far, there's no evidence of any Iranian nuclear weapons, only allegations that they are trying to create nuclear weapons, a charge, that the Iranian government has denied repeatedly. And so far, the evidence of it has been extremely, unconvincing. Let's put it that way.
U.S. Ambassador Glenn Davis said, quote, "The priority was to make the 2012 conference possible, and this would not happen by continuing to bludgeon one member state," he said, referring to Israel. In order for 2012 to succeed, all countries have to show up. Right now, there is one country that has very little incentive to do that because of the way they're being made a pariah in this process. Davies said, "We have been working with the Arab League, but also other partners, to urge them to withdraw the Israeli nuclear capabilities resolution to spare another fight," Davies said. On Wednesday in Washington, U.S. State Department spokesman Philip Crowley said the IAEA was not the place to discuss Israel's possible accession to the NPT. He said, quote, "Israel has fully cooperated with the IAEA, and we believe there is really no basis for a debate at the IAEA," Crowley said.
Israel, remember, was an original member of the IAEA. They've always been in compliance with their obligations to the agency. So I think the challenge, the problem that's posed by the arguments that are being made by the Arab side is that they're trying to expand the IAEA's mandate in a way that would take it beyond its core functions. Issues of whether or not a sovereign state has chosen to associate itself with a treaty is outside the scope of the IAEA.
There's the irony, of course. Let me say two things as a background. Number one, foreign policy, especially when it comes to the Middle East, has always been the purview of the U.S. Congress. There have been U.S. presidents who several times have tried to really push back against Israel, and they haven't succeeded because U.S. Congress is really under the thumb of Israeli lobby in the U.S. And secondly, you have to think of Israel really as the 51st state. It's one part of the United States, only it happens to be located in the Middle East. Therefore, you can expect that in this oil-rich region, that the U.S. and its allies are going to do everything to strengthen Israel and support its aggression for their own illegitimate interest. Therefore, of course, you can't expect that unless enormous pressure from the whole world is applied against the Israeli nuclear program, that anytime soon that there is going to be effective pressure on Israel to reduce its nuclear arsenal or eliminate it. And that's really what we call the double standard, the hypocrisy, that what the U.S. expects of Iran to stop uranium enrichment on the one hand, and on the other hand, Israel is not a member of the NPT and is free to have its nuclear arsenal, while Iran, that hasn't attacked any other country in over 200 years, is called a threat to world peace, whereas Israel, as well as the United States, are really serial bombers. They're always attacking somebody.